Ooh, spooky. Spooky games. I hope it's not too late to talk about Amnesia Rebirth. It's November, spooky season's over. Horror games are illegal now. They are against the law. I played Amnesia Rebirth. It was good. I liked it a lot. So Amnesia Rebirth is really different. There's a lot more voice acting, the plot, etc., etc. I'm going on a thing. I think what would happen if I tried to review Amnesia Rebirth is I would just start talking about all of Frictional's past work. So instead of talking about Amnesia Rebirth, I'm gonna talk about all of Frictional's games. Bah! Starting from the beginning. Starting from Penumbra Overture. Penumbra Overture is probably the scariest game that I played up to that point. Before that, I think most of the games that I had played in the horror category were like Dead Space. Gosh, what even did I play before then? Oh god. Penumbra Overture came out. When did Penumbra Overture come out, internet? Penumbra Overture.
According to Wikipedia,
2007. Okay, shh. Okay, so 2007, what was out then? Bioshock would have come out around like 2003 or 4? Oh god. That would have come out in like 2006. Bioshock. 2007? That's the same year. Oh my god. Bioshock came out the same year as Penumbra Overture? That's weird. Okay. What was I playing before that? Oh my god. I don't even know. Okay. How did you know what? I don't even remember how I found Penumbra Overture. I think I might... Okay. On YouTube, before I think Let's Plays really blew up, there was this guy named Halloween4545, and I think he still makes videos. He had this really soothing British accent. So I think I must have been looking up, because at this point I was looking up walkthroughs for games, because I wasn't looking at Let's Plays back then. That wasn't really a thing that I was aware of. So I found this Halloween guy, I think, and then he started playing Penumbra Overture, or maybe he played it already. God, what even year was this? I don't know. Everything about Penumbra's atmosphere stood out. Like, it was a lot more subtle when other games that were scary were trying to, like, shock you. Like, I don't know, like Dead Space. Like, that game was really, really shocking and creepy, but then, like, you play a game like Penumbra, you're very unsure of what is going on at all times. It's very lonely. Like, that game is so lonely, and if you, like, listen to the theme for that game, it's, like, the main theme for loneliness as an idea. I'll put Penumbra Overture in the A tier. Let's make a note of that. Penumbra Black Plague, one of the things that kind of held Penumbra Overture back was you were able to defend yourself with this really clunky, kind of mouse-draggy, pickaxe swingy combat, and they took that out in Penumbra Black Plague. And instead of these zombie dogs, you're, like, faced up against these, like, terrifying zombie guys. But they're not like zombies, they're like cognizant, and they are like calling you out, and they're saying like, who's there? And they have these, they're like naked, and they have these big swinging dicks. Actually, you know what? Those, the thing about those zombie guys with the, whatever that is down there, I have a theory, because if you look closely, I think it's a lot more disturbing than that, than them just having their dick out. It looks a lot more, because, like, so if you look closely, it's actually like a tube that goes from their belly button around the back to their butt. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Alright, Black Plague goes in the S tier. I don't think I talked about anything other than, like, zombie penis. The next game was Requiem. Penumbra Requiem. It's kind of hard to describe that game because it's not really part of the story. Like, part of what drove me to finish Penumbra Overture and Black Plague was the story, and Requiem kind of just was it had the atmosphere, and it had the puzzles. It didn't really have the scares. It seemed like it was just the puzzles and the like spooky places. I think I played a whole like 3 hours of that before I kind of got bored. Let's put that in C tier. Okay, we're done with Penumbra. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. After playing Overture and Black Plague, I was super duper hyped for Amnesia. My expectations could not have been higher. When it finally came out, it not only shattered my expectations, but it kind of like took the world by storm and made Frictional Games like a household name among like us weirdo horror game thrill seekers. And even just like people who watched, like, I think like that kind of put Let's Plays on the map too. Like, I bet you could accredit Amnesia for that because of the genuine, like, fear-based reactions that you got from people like Markiplier and PewDiePie. Pretty sure Markiplier attributes that game to launching his career, which would be fair, I think, to say. On pure scare levels, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is the scariest game I've ever played. I don't know if it's just because that game came out 10 years ago and it was like the only thing that I'd played that was scarier was Penumbra Black Plague, and that game was really scary, and Amnesia was scarier, and then after that, I don't think anything has really scared me that badly. Like, I would be playing for 10 minutes, and then I would turn it off because I was just way too scared. And then, like, 15 minutes later, I would turn the game back on and try to keep playing. Like, that dungeon segment, I basically played through the whole thing like that. Like, every time a new thing happened, I was like, nope, I'm done. Fuck this. And then I was back on 10 minutes later. Amnesia: The Dark Descent goes in the S tier, obviously. I know that Amnesia Machine for Pigs was the Chinese room. They made Dear Esther: The Walking Simulator. Frictional Games let them develop for the IP. I don't think that Machine for Pigs was bad like some people say. I think it was just a different type of game. I was kind of expecting that would happen because it's a different company and they're like... Dear Esther was really atmospheric. It wasn't a horror game. I was thinking it would be more atmospheric horror instead of like my heart is racing because I can't handle what might happen type of horror, which is what I got from Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Oh, also, like, I don't even know if that game is canon. After playing Amnesia Rebirth, I think maybe it is canon, but I feel like the ending, like the very, very ending, not to spoil anything, but it was very, like, avant-garde and maybe was supposed to be taken as a metaphor? Like, it didn't actually happen to the player character. Maybe it was, like, you were just living out his insanity. That would make more sense, and it could still be canon. But, like, that whole thing was bonkers. Like, it got really weird towards the end. I was into it, but, like, it didn't really feel like a proper Amnesia game. The way that I would classify an Amnesia game based solely off the first installment of the series is feeling very, very, very alone. Being confused for the whole game was kind of a key experience. The silent protagonist, I feel like, contributed to the loneliness. They changed that a little bit in future installments. I guess it's really up to Frictional Games what makes an Amnesia title, but for me, those were the key parts of the experience. The loneliness, the confusion, I mean, the atmosphere, obviously, but the atmosphere is there with the other games. They didn't do anything bad with the atmosphere. That's intact all the way through the series. Anyways, back to the tier list. I'll put A Machine for Pigs in B tier. Before talking about Amnesia Rebirth, I want to go in order. So next I'm going to talk about Soma. The sense of dread that you got in the game was mostly from the plot. The atmosphere contributed to that. There were some decent scares that kind of like carried you from moment to moment, but mostly that game I feel like was about like Simon discovering how awful the world had gotten, and kind of you discovering that with him, and then like it just, you know, builds off of that. I think I would put Soma A tier. Amnesia Rebirth, the last game that I played by Frictional Games. Okay, so Amnesia Rebirth borrows from Soma quite a bit, with the character that you play as speaks throughout the game. Like, there's no silent protagonist moments. Like, I think the silent protagonist thing works because you're supposed to think the thoughts that they would be thinking. So, like, when like a cave like collapses and cuts off your path, you think like, oh, I can't go that way. But in this game, she will say, oh, I can't go that way. Which kind of creates a little bit of a disconnect where it feels more like you're watching than you're experiencing. Which doesn't like neuter the experience. I feel like it still manages to hold up with the atmosphere. The storytelling was great, good narrative, plot, all that stuff was great. A lot of questions got answered about the Amnesia universe, which was really nice. You finally get to find out what the hell a lot of that stuff was, which is a nice payoff. I like that. There's a lot of inner conflict with the character that you play as. Things kind of get a little bit weird. It's not a terrible spoiler, I think, to say that you play as a pregnant lady. She's preggers. You find out about, like, second hour in, so it's not, you know, like a huge... It's kind of hinted in the title, it's rebirth, and it has a lot of themes about, like, birth and motherhood. I guess in the sense that, like, Simon being a robot in Soma is a spoiler. Like, that happens really early on, so I don't think that's too spoilery. But yeah, things get a little, like, strange in that, where... I don't know, like, if I were to do, like, a spoilerific, like, talking about Amnesia, then I want to keep this spoiler-free, so I'll just keep that to myself. Alright, Amnesia Rebirth, where do you go? Amnesia Rebirth is A tier. Scarier than Soma, not scarier than Dark Descent. I think the biggest reasons that I played Amnesia and Frictional Games is for the scares. And it was decently scary, I would say. Scarier than a lot of, you know, modern horror games. Yeah. So, I didn't miss anything, did I? I think that was it. We got all of the Penumbra games, Amnesia games. We got Soma. I didn't put anything in D tier or anything, because I don't think they've made any bad games. All of Frictional Games are good. Nothing goes below C tier. They're all good. Go and play them. I'm McStab. I'm still alive. I don't know if I'm going to keep this up. I just kind of got the urge to do this, and yeah. Thank you all for watching. Have a lovely day. Go take a